What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, Joker back again once again, and today we're talking about Solstice of Heroes. I know, finally, right? Or, as I like to call it, Solstice of Zero New Content. But before we get into it, I want to go ahead and share this quote from Glad, because I think Glad summed up Solstice of Heroes the best. Fuck Gambit, dogshit game mode, leave the game. 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 Or better yet, when he said, y'all are as dumb as fuck, making a big deal out of nothing. Everyone keeps saying the Solstice event is the exact same as last year's. It's definitely not. There is a different final chest location in the EDZ. Come on, brah. New content. I merely wanted to point all of this out before anyone takes issue with me complaining about Destiny. You know, the guy who has multiple worlds first is also complaining about Destiny. So there you go. Now, Solstice of Heroes is somewhat endemic of a larger issue going on with Destiny. Simply put, Bungie has no fucking clue how to make an MMO, or even an RPG. Now, ladies and gents, boys and girls, fanboys of all ages, before you start typing away furiously in the comments below, all half-cocked and full of impotent "But Joker" rage, let me explain. Oh, who am I kidding? You're not gonna let me explain. You don't give a shit. You've already made up your mind about my opinion. Duh! But for the more sensible of the crowd, let me go ahead and take a crack at it anyways. Take a look at any Destiny release. With the exception of perhaps Destiny 1 Year 1, you have a series of starting story missions that are all absolutely, positively phenomenal. I know, Joker praising and liking something about Destiny Gas Shock or Lightning Crackle, Lightning Crackle, Lightning Crackle, but the starting missions of every story DLC tend to be really, really good. Then each campaign hits a wall at some point and just becomes this kind of grindy, repetitive thing filled with busy work. The juxtaposition of quality between the first story mission and the latter story missions of any given Destiny campaign is honestly pretty jarring. And personally, I think it comes down to the fact that Bungie is really good at developing first-person shooter content. I mean, it is their core, it is their roots after all. But then when asked to develop sustain RPG MMO content, they give us the most generic, repetitive content imaginable. It's like somebody at Bungie took the idea of the most condensed down version of what MMO content is and just stuffed it into Destiny. This thesis holds true when you look at the raids. All of the raids are generally fairly well thought out experiences, even if some of them are weaker than the others. But this experience, just like the first story mission of every Destiny DLC, is a very highly scripted experience. Or perhaps curated experience would be the better terminology. Both the first story mission and raids are things that Bungie can really buckle down on and make a more curated experience. The rest of the content in Destiny is just, well, it exists to exist, because you really don't have a game with just one story mission and a raid. Though Bungie's really trying to prove me wrong there with Season of the Arrivals and its one story mission and a dungeon. I mean, it's not working, it's not doing well, but A for effort, I guess. Now, this isn't going to surprise anyone but the densest of dogshit sniffers, but Bungie likes to recycle content. A lot of content. Gasp! Shock! Revelation! I know, right? A statement that should surprise nobody with a fucking pulse. From weapons, to bounties, to quests, to events, Bungie builds one thing, and they're damn well gonna get their money's worth out of it. Even if they have to retire it so then they can bring it back so you can regrind the exact same thing. And you know what? From a utilitarian standpoint, I kind of respect it. I mean, let's be real, let's be honest, let's be real honest. Bungie is not doing anything other MMOs don't do. Load up Final Fantasy XIV and you're going to have a bunch of fetch quests as optional content, and some of those fetch quest objectives will be sprinkled throughout the main story for flavor. The key difference, of course, is the presentation and variety of those quests. And because Destiny is such a utilitarian game, meaning that every quest, event, hell, story campaign is the most bare bones but functional, most times, piece of content that Bungie can conjure up, it means that when Bungie recycles stuff, there's not a deep well to draw from, just a shallow puddle. and it becomes boring and repetitive because Bungie has stripped away all the bells and whistles and the feeling of forward progression that other MMOs and RPGs use to hide the fact that you're just doing the same shit over and over again. Solstice of Heroes has objectives like play 10 matches of Gambit, or 7 Trials of Osiris matches, or run Pit of Heresy because, in all honesty, what else is there to fucking do? Look at an exotic quest. Generally speaking there, go kill 1,000 enemies with void weapons, play some Gambit or PvP, or maybe both, and then maybe you'll go collect some shit in the public play spaces. A new story mission for the week? Go play Gambit Perfected, aka Public Space Gambit. Then maybe go, I don't know, play Real Gambit or The Crucible, then progress through the same story mission that we've had for months. Destiny at its core can be boiled down to a lot of copy-pasted repetitive content because Bungie just doesn't spend a lot of time developing new content, or their development pipeline is so fucking congested that extraordinarily little gets done. So they have to fill in the pieces with already existing content. And that might sound like a bold statement. Somebody might want to go,
"But Joker, you don't know anything about Bungie's development pipeline. How dare you assume any of that?"
but I mean, like, the proof's in the pudding. And trust me, that is the good faith argument. The bad faith argument is that Bungie believes the player base so stupid that they can just get away with repackaging the same content. And maybe it's just because I'm an eternal optimist, but when given the choice between malice or incompetence, I tend to go with incompetence. Now, of course, right now, Bungie has an excuse because current events. But then again, Solstice of Heroes had a year for Bungie to come up with something new. Now, of course, the argument could be made, does Bungie need to come up with something new for a seasonal event? And you know what? Normally, I would say no. I play plenty of games that have seasonal events that rarely change from one event to another, with the exception of the loot available. However, in Destiny's case, by the time that we get to these yearly events, we've already done the objectives of these yearly events over and over and over and over and over again for the entire year, almost weekly. So what should be an event, a break from the same shit different day grind of Destiny, is nothing more than more of the same. But how do we fix this? Well, this is one of those issues where the explaining of the issue presents the solution for it as well. If Bungie has to recycle content in order to pad out other content, then the solution is simple. Have a wellspring of content that they can pull from. Also, dress it up a little bit. Look, I love white rice, and yeah, I can eat it plain, it's not terrible. And hey, white rice with some soy sauce isn't terrible either. But you know what else is better? White rice with some sauteed bell peppers, onions, mushrooms, served alongside a nice piece of salmon. The salmon of this analogy, of course, being the meat of any Destiny release. It's okay to have repetitive content, just as long as the core of the experience is solid. And that's not been the case with even the best of Destiny's content. Forsaken, widely attributed as some of the best Destiny content ever created, still has multiple sections of padding, be it gaining the spider's trust via grinding out the tangled shore bounties, or leveling up the relic so you can enter the Dreaming City, the relic that's part of the Wishender quest. You could cut these pieces of content, and yeah, sure, Forsaken would be much shorter, but it would also be better for it. The pacing of the story wouldn't arbitrarily be halted just because you now need to go kill 500 Cabal, do 25 tangled shore bounties, and circle jerk the spider off in order to progress. I mean, that's kind of like sitting down to eat a great steak, only then to be interrupted a few bites in and told you need to consume an entire bowl of rice before you can continue. Sure, it might not be bad, but it's bland, and it's interrupting the thing that I really want to do. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous. But above all else, stay frosty.